In 3 BC, Ashoka got so many edicts inscribed where he talks about his Dhamma, the minor rock edict, the major rock edict, the pillar edicts, and 2 Kalingan edicts. There is a lot of sculptural or artistic evidence also to what Ashoka says.
Every time we are told we ruled 1000 years. Persia, which was one of the most powerful empire at one point of time, the Persia, it collapsed in 4 years. Their military collapsed in 4 years. That's 4 years. Whereas Sindh, by the time they came to Sindh resisted for 60 years. And that is not a joke. And from Sindh coming to Delhi to establish them, it was approximately 600 to 700 years.
Good afternoon to everybody. I thank the Indraprastha Cultural Festival. And today's session is going to be probably different.
Yeah.
And I'll want
So
Rakesh ji to begin.
So as the session goes about, we are the theme we have, it is on empire, resistance, and civilization memory. So what I have noticed, so you must have seen in the intro, in the initial days, I was like one of those confused ones. So yes, the journey was difficult, but finally you have to overcome some days. And what I have observed, like many people hesitate to speak about our history. No, many people speak. It is not like they don't want to, or they. It is just one of the main reason why they hesitate is because they are getting bullied. They are getting dismissed. So that part that struck into my mind, like why. So then I started searching. There's something wrong. We have all have our own journeys to transform ourselves. So I'll just explain from my transformation side, like how it happened. So my roots from my father's side, actually, we come from a small village on the banks of Ganga in Uttar Pradesh. And Adri Parvat, there is a hill actually over there. It has been associated with all the tales. We have a lot of stories, in many villages. It has been associated with Vamana avatar of Vishnu and even King Vikramaditya. And sadly, I was being ignorant about this for a very long time. So imagine being born over there just next to in that village and you are not knowing about it. So, but lately I came to know like why this must have been happened. It is basically due to a civilization memory which was disconnected. How it transitions actually from one generation to another, and mainly, and if my observation goes right, my belief, what I have observed, the civilization memory, the transition always happens, not always, at least most of the time, in the majority of the time, it is from the grandparents to the grandchildren, because grandparents have the experience. They love telling their stories because they have time, and what a beautiful audience they have is the children's, whom they love hearing. They ask questions, and somehow that has been broken, and same was in my case. That was broken somewhere. And of course we have the colonial way of saying things. Maybe there one of the things was broken. And if I go back in time, even there was a broken chain somewhere to be transitioned. The Gurukul system was very much alive to take that forward, but unfortunately, even those are being, dismissed. It does not exist right now. If it exists, it is in silos somewhere, and that's what is happening. So that is one of the part of it. And my second root from my mom's side actually comes from Bihar. Actually, it was once a center of the political and the cultural capital of Bharat. But again, if I go back to my school days, I don't remember Mauryan being registered in my mind. Possibly, maybe it was there in some asterisk marks, and maybe it was there in some corner of the text. I don't recollect actually. So again, somehow it was missed in our textbooks for some reasons. And the only thing when I came to know about the Mauryans, being from there, you know, is from the series Chanakya. I'm not too sure how many of you all know it. It's from the 90s, the early 90s. And I still remember like one of the common phrase across was Jai Ma Bharati. You know, whenever Chanakya comes, he used to. So what that signifies is that whether be from south or we were culturally bounded. You know, we were way beyond. It was Bharat was like a cultural bound, whether it be north, whether it be from south or anywhere beyond our boundaries. So those things were always there, actually. So again, taking that step forward, of course, I would love to know more about maybe Patliputra, what the name resonates. So maybe I would like to ask Sahana ji to, take us deep into the Magadha, because that the empire was the Magadha. Maybe enlighten us much more.
Sure. The topic is vast, so I'd like to confine myself. Magadha is a Sanskrit term. Magadha means the son of Magadha. So the son of Magadha in my context is Ashoka. And there have been two narratives or say theories in terms of Ashoka. Usually it is thought that he was a Chanda Ashoka before the Kalinga war and he became a Dhamma Ashoka post the war. That's one. The other one is he remained a Chanda Ashoka throughout, before the war and after. So people agreeing to this usually take two Buddhist traditions into account. One is the Divya-Avadana. Avadana is the tale of heroic deeds that are done. Divya-Avadana was written in the 2nd century AD in northern India. And then there is this Deepavamsha and Mahavamsha of Sri Lanka. They are chronicles of Sri Lanka. So they have this story of Ashoka, according to which he gives his son Mahinda, daughter Sanghamitra to Buddhism, and all that is from these two basically. But the problem with us is, in most of the cases, we ignore the person who has written so much about himself. We've been doing that from, I don't know how many years, because he's at least 3th century BC, and we still continue to do that. So-called Mahapurushas, right from Buddha to Ambedkar, I mean, they've written something else and we give a different meaning which is convenient to us. When we say us, there are so many forces which are powerful, which do it. Unfortunately, the same thing has happened with Ashoka, because he has got these inscriptions inscribed. Even in Delhi, I think we have 2 pillar edicts as we are talking now. One is from Meerut that was moved. The other one was from Topra. Firoz Shah Tughlaq got it moved. Each pillar is 50 ton, weighing 50 ton and 50 feet high. So in 3 BC, Ashoka got so many edicts inscribed where he talks about his Dhamma. He writes in Pali, so he calls it Dhamma. And we have been discussing Dharma, civilizational, the dharmic governance. So if we go through his edicts, which can be broadly classified into 5 groups. One is the minor rock edicts, which he kind of experiments with. He sees how good he is at it, because his inspiration for these edicts is the King Darius of the Achaemenid Empire. Northwestern Sindh was a satrap of Achaemenid Empire. So Darius writes inscriptions. He wanted to become a lawgiver, who was in turn inspired by Hammurabi. So Ashoka continues the same tradition. I can't go too much into edicts because it will consume a lot of time. But the minor rock edicts he starts with. Then he goes to major rock edicts, which are 14 in number. A set comprises of 14, but he gets it inscribed all across India. If you go to Junagadh, you see Ashokan edicts. You go to Kalsi, there are Ashokan edicts. Karnataka itself has at least 9 of the minor rock edicts, at least in 9 places. The majority is carved in Karnataka, the minor rock edicts. And that is one of the places where, at every place it is Devanam Priya, Priyadarshi Hevam Maha, thus saith King Ashoka. Only in the Maski edict of Karnataka, it is Devanam Priya Asokasa. So people could map Devanam Priya to Ashoka because of the Maski edict which is in Karnataka. So the minor rock edict, the major rock edict, the pillar edicts and 2 Kalingan edicts. two specific edicts to Kalinga which have a correlation with one of the major rock edict. It is so carefully, so beautifully, so intelligently done that I am surprised, I feel sorry that we somehow want to borrow something which is convenient. We don't want to look at what he is actually trying to say. What does he mean by dharma? And he is so influenced by Arthashastra that he has taken the karikas of Arthashastra as is. And from his past, he's inspired by Darius, from Buddha. That's a separate question altogether, because now we look at Buddhism as something which is in conflict with the Sanatana Dharma, but that was only 225 years since Buddha had attained his nirvana. So the gap was very less. Now, you laugh if I say Sadhguru is opposing the Sanatan. So Buddha was like a godfather for that time of Ashoka, because there are so many similarities in what Buddha says and Ashoka says. So he was inspired by Arthashastra tremendously, and that's when he got his edicts inscribed. And until he was, 27 years after coronation is his last pillar edict. The seventh pillar edict, in which he sums up everything. He says he is creating new rules. The rules laid by me. So he was kind of imposing ethics on everybody. So the whole narrative of he was Chanda, he did not know how to administer, or then all of a sudden he gave up war is, we can't explain or we can't justify that when we do a detailed research of his edicts. So it was, I'm not the very first person looking at it. Radhakumud Mukherjee has done it to an extent. He has compared the Megasthenes Indica. If you know, there was a Greek ambassador, Megasthenes. In that, he had written the timetable of Chandragupta Maurya. The days were divided into different zones. That exactly matches with what is given in the Arthashastra. Arthashastra is a great statecraft. It has 15 adhikaranas or chapters and so many prakaranas in that, sections. So Radhakumad Mukherjee stops there, but there's another historian, Bhaskar Anand Saletore, his Ancient Indian Political Thoughts and Institutions. In that, he brilliantly maps all these. He begins with Hammurabi. He says how Hammurabi was a lawgiver who was followed by Darius, and then Ashoka also toes the same line. And these are brilliant works. And after that, we have to know the language also. The problem with English is, it only gives you synonyms. We are losing so much by not going back to Sanskrit. I'll just give one example. In the 6th rock edict, Ashoka says, there's a concept of Mantri Parishad. If somebody says he was a very a tyrant, he was ruling according to his will, that was not the case. Arthashastra, there is a karika. Atyaike karye mantrino mantri parishadan chahuya bruyat. If there is any matter of urgency, the king has to summon the council of ministers. Ashoka makes use of the same term, atyaike. When there's an urgent matter, the council discusses amongst itself. Ashoka constitutes a prativedaka, an officer called prativedaka. He is supposed to tell Ashoka about all the discussions that happen in the Mantri Parishad. Ashoka could give oral commands to Mantri Parishad, but that had to be debated. Once agreed upon, it had to be written and then the order passed. So Ashoka in his edict clearly says he makes use of this term Atyaike. Atyaika is an Arthashastra term. For somebody translating, they'll say urgent. Now, how do I map urgent to Arthashastra? This is a very big problem when it comes to looking at our original documents, which are all either in Sanskrit or in Pali. So the English translations are good for understanding the summary, but for somebody who wants to read it, read line by line, because every term matters. Every Sanskrit term, every regional language term has so many sounds, so many meanings. That's why I feel very fortunate we read Bhairappa in Kannada. English cannot do justice to the richness of our regional languages. So this is in a summary. So going back to you, how difficult was it for you to overcome or suppress your atheist feelings and then open up to this?
There were a lot of questions, actually, lots. I used to ask a lot of questions, this is right, this is wrong. And even my mom, I remember slapping me, like, what kind of a question is this if you're asking about this God and all this thing. because those questions were there always in my mind, But then I have to start taking a step somewhere. There is like as I said, I've been trekking all the places and all those things, and people are asking questions, and especially when they ask question, oh, okay, fine, you belong to a Sanatan and all those things, so answer me this. I used to go totally blank. I knew the answers, but again, being finger pointed, I used to get a little blank, like, oh, what is happening, Uh, so the hesitance was there always. So always that hesitance was there. And then I realized there is a pattern. If they are trying to tell you something, they are trying to hide four more things. There is always, like when we talk about ahimsa, I think it is the most abused word I have seen, because we have been the land of Shastra and Shastra. And with this word, both are being killed. So that, invoke me, no, there is something wrong. They want information in a quick way and related to what is happening today. So something was missing over there. Shabrimala is the best case. Recently, what has happened? Our history was just confined to headlines. Nobody was ready to read below what is happening. It was just confined to an headline. I said, what is happening? Why headlines? So I have to give a context. Ki Shabrimala is not the only case. It was related to other civilizations. So I tried relating to other civilization also. See, this is how it was destroyed. They don't exist now. We are still standing over here. So you have to relate it, then people start connecting to you. Oh, fine, this is happening and this is happening today. Then people start listening. So I said, no, let me use that narrative. So there where I picked up, and there are many things. Each chapter I have wrote in different way. Defining age. So we have travel. Even the World War is being misinterpreted. Only Hitler is being portrayed one. That's it. But was it only Hitler? No, there were many people behind that. Is the war ended after Hitler? No, the war has started several centuries ago, and it is still going on. It is still going on. But only thing we forget about relating those. Okay, speak about the recent movie Durandar. What is happening? Many people were saying, don't watch if you don't like it. Take entertainment as an entertainment. But a slight truth coming into perspective, the same people say, no, this is wrong. So somebody has to take a strong, a stance on that. So I thought, why not? Let me, I have to jump into it. So I have to bring perspective. It was hard, but definitely I did that. So maybe I'll pass on to you you spoke about edicts and all those things. So maybe, and I know you have stayed some places very long time to research, so dedication is there. So maybe something more you can throw light, because I learned from it comes from where I was born, and I don't know, and I'm just, I will definitely start exploring more. So it is never, I know everything. I am still learning. So thank you for introducing for that.
Sure. So I went to Patna with a lot of hope of finding so many things, but it's pathetic. Because in Indica, Megasthenes talks about 80-pillared hall, which was in Patliputra. So today's Patna, they've excavated, they've just retained 1 or 2 pillars which are broken. But the fact is it was all true. So he gives a detailed account of how the placing of the pillars were done. It's all to map, and it was flooded later on, and because of which they have been able to retrieve only 1 pillar. So there is a lot of sculptural or artistic evidence also to what Ashoka says. On edicts, I think I'll just give one more fascinating example to show how diplomatic he was or politically correct. Among the 14 rock edicts, the 13th talks about Kalinga war. So many think that the war didn't happen, he simply wrote. Some think he's exaggerating. The tone of that edict is that I'm very remorseful. Lakhs of people have been murdered, lakhs have been imprisoned, lakhs have been shifted from their place. And so Devanampriya feels very sorry about that. And he talks about Atavika Pradesha. Atavika is the forest tribes. Kalinga is a tribal group. So he says, Atavika Pradesha. In his edicts, Ashoka mainly bifurcates between the Vijita and Avijita Pradesha, conquered and unconquered. He very clearly gives the map of the area that was under him. He calls India Jambudvipa, except for some parts in Dakshina, Chola, Chera, Pandya, Satyaputra, Kerala Putra, and Paschima, Rashtrika, Pitinika, those were republics. Barring a few places, the rest was in his control except Kalinga. So it's very good. I mean, we can make out when the war starts, you can't stop it, similar to what is happening now. So that was the major thing which was pending. He took it, and then there was no solid reason for him to go on with war, because maintaining that particular territory or that huge a territory was a challenge. So he introduced Anusamyana. That's a diversion, I'm sorry. So in this 13th edict, he apologizes. He's kind of remorseful that the war happened. And then he's like, the Vijita-Avijita Pradesh, if they are willing to submit, I am going to pardon them. I expect submission from them. It's an authoritative tone. He's very strong about what he says. Now, the 14 sets of rock edicts, among those, everywhere else in India, you have all these 14 except in Kalinga. Kalinga, this 13 is missing. Instead of this 13, he has gotten inscribed 2 separate edicts for Kalinga. One in Tosali, which is today's Dhauli. The other one is in that day Samapa, which is today's Jogada. So in those 2 edicts, he tells them, I am like your father. That is from Arthashastra. Pita eva anugrahniyat. So you don't have to be worried about me. You don't have to be afraid of me. I am for sure going to forgive you, those Atavika people. And he there says that they are Avijita. They are still not conquered. So he's giving a different picture to the world outside. And to them, he's literally asking them that we'll have to work it out well. So I'm like your father. You don't have to be worried. I'll take care of you provided you submit to me. And there he does not say that I feel sorry for what I've done. A king cannot do that. And Kalinga could not become free until Ashoka was alive. Only after 7 years after his death, Chedi dynasty comes into picture. The third king of Chedi is the Kharavela, who writes the Hathigumpha inscription. If you go to Bhuvaneshwar, the Hathigumpha inscription, he is again inspired by Ashoka. There are so many terms that he takes from him. So this is how it goes. He is a master at administration, at psychologically interpreting, and at giving the message that he wanted to give. In his 14th rock edict, he says, I've just begun getting inscriptions written. I'm trying to do it well, but some are not complete due to the limitations of the scribe. Some are incomplete due to the geography. I still have much to do, I'll do it. And that's when the continuation of it is in the pillar edicts. Last pillar edict, he says, I'm done with everything. But in this rock edict 14, he again quotes Arthashastra. He says, certain things I have repeated them because of Arthamadhurya. Now, Arthashastra has a concept called Lekha Sampat, topic of edicts, which is in the second Adhikarana, Shasanadhikara, or topic of edicts, where it says for something that a king gets written, edicts, it has to be, there should be Arthakrama, there should be Sambandha, there should be Paripurnata, there should be Madhurya, Audarya, and then Spashtate. So it has to be complete, it has to be exalted, it has to be sweet, it has to be, there has to be a connectivity. So he says Artha Madhurya. My edicts are not complete because this is still not achieved, or I'm trying to achieve it, therefore I'm repeating it. So these are, I mean, when somebody like me, I am so happy, whenever I see people from other faculties like IT or non-literary background, I feel very happy because we come with a different mindset. You know, our way of looking at things is different. We analyze it differently because we have no prejudices. No history professor has taught me how to look at history. So actually when I looked through this, I was like, how did we miss this? If you look at Arthashastra, if you see all the 15 sections, you'll be amazed that Chanakya has done literally everything. It's on our part to again go back, dig into it. And this also kind of fixes the time period of Arthashastra. They try to drag it to AD. If it was in AD, how would Ashoka quote it? Carbon dating, I was checking with one of my friends. If the carbon dating is right, Ashoka belonged to 3 BC, Arthashastra should definitely be attributed to Chanakya, who was in the Maurya period. So this is a vast subject.
When people ask me about the book, I always tell them, don't make this as a final book, Mine is just introducing to things. Maybe later on you have to go deeper, like, Sahana ji's book, and you have to start going deeper and deeper. So just to give the context to everything, how things are placed. Every time we are told, we ruled 1,000 years. We ruled 1,000 years. You will listen every corner of it, yeah? But I'll just give you a very quick brief on that so that at least you will know what things are happening. Persia, which was one of the most powerful empire at one point of time, the Persia, it collapsed in 4 years. Their military collapsed in 4 years. That's 4 years. Whereas Sindh, by the time they came to Sindh, Sindh resisted for 60 years. And that is not a joke. And from Sindh, coming to Delhi to establish them, it was approximately 600 to 700 years. Of course, they were spreading and running away. I would call them as dacoits. But that was happening to establish them. And then, when they came to Delhi, the temples are erased, Gurukul systems are erased, and of course, humans were used as a commodity to be sold in the Afghanistans and as far as Iraq. Correct? Then comes the era, they try to venture deep into that thing. 300 years later, they started to think about coming to Deccan, and they were not able to conquer Deccan. Now the turning point is, I hope you got that numbers, 4 years, this thing. Now take a twist. Since Shivaji became Chhatrapati, and then after uniting, we were all united, even the women, the priest, everybody was united. I would not go into deeper because since Shivaji becoming Chhatrapati, defying everything, uniting everything, going up to Afghanistan, ATOC at that time, you know how much time it took? 8 decades. Imagine they took 1,000, it was 8 decades. So if there is a will, things can be changed. Just imagine that. So everybody can do it. It just takes that. And that, when you all must have read it, but when you give it a context, 8 decades, they took 1,000 still fighting, and 8 decades, 80 years, it was all reversed. All reversed. I wish they would have more time, we would have gone further.
So the term Hindu was given to us by Darius in his inscriptions. Sindh was one of his satrapies, and there is no pronunciation of sir. There's no sir. It was her. They could not pronounce. They were able to previously, is what I've read, but at that point, they could not pronounce sir. Therefore, it was Hindu. The people belonging to Sindh were Hind. So Darius writes Hindu, Hindav, Hindaviya. So he gives his list of satrapies. Hindu or Hindav or Hindaviya is one of the satrapies. So for us to say, how did this term Hindu come? Because otherwise, in Buddhist texts and in Ashokan edicts, it is Brahmana Dharma. It is not even Sanatana. And by Brahmana, we don't mean the caste Brahmana. It is Brahma Janati iti Brahmana. Whoever goes into the quest of oneself, Brahma. So Brahmana is the quest. It's a philosophical quest. Therefore, Buddha, Ashoka, everybody said Brahmana Dharma. I do not know when Sanatana came into picture, but Darius gave us this beautiful name, Hindus. Thank you.